Hey, on a day like today, we're all looking forward to going outside because it's absolutely beautiful, right? But we've got to worry about those allergies. So joining us from Northwestern Memorial Hospital this morning is allergist Brad Sabin. Welcome.
Thank you.
And right before we went on camera, we were joking because it seems like every year we hear, this is the worst allergy season ever.
Absolutely. But this is the true year. No.
So this year really is going to be bad. Why?
We're seeing measurable tree pollen earlier this year. Usually tree pollen comes out in about mid-March. And this year we saw it in mid-February. We had a spring-like winter, and it brought up those pollen counts a bit.
So it's been a little bit warmer. We've seen things blooming. In fact, a lot of people were worried when we started to see the buds coming up that it was going to have an effect on the flowers because the weather has been very, very tricky this year.
Yeah.
So the season has started early.
Yes.
So where do we begin? What do we do?
So generally when I talk with my patients, we kind of focus on three different areas: allergen avoidance measures, allergy medications, and allergen immunotherapy, which is allergy shots and tablets that you could put on your tongue to kind of help decrease your allergies.
Okay.
Usually we start with avoidance. When you're outside, there's not much you can do to avoid allergies. They're wind blown. You could be in the middle of downtown Chicago and they're going to blow in from the park, and it doesn't matter if you're surrounded by concrete and buildings. But what you can do is try and decrease the allergen in your house. So try and keep the windows closed, to try and run the air conditioning. If you're outside when you come in, try and wash your clothing or change out of your clothes so you're not carrying pollen into your house. And then what a lot of patients like is try and not do the yard work. Try and have somebody else do that.
That's kind of a bummer, though. Sometimes it's fun to do yard work, right?
Absolutely. So there are pollen masks that you can wear, and that's a great segue. We live in Chicago. Today's a beautiful day. We don't want you just sitting inside on a beautiful day. So there's medications and other things that we can do. I love to tell my patients, live your life, do what you want to do, and come in and see me, and I'll help you with your allergies.
I like that. I like that. Okay, so you can help us out with the prescription, but what about the over-the-counter medication? So my allergies are not horrible, but I think I have like a mold allergy and maybe a pollen allergy that's not horrible, but sometimes I can get pretty miserable too. So what about over-the-counter? So
there's plenty over-the-counter, and more medications have moved over-the-counter in the last year or so. So the tried and true are the antihistamines, especially the non-sedating antihistamines, and those have been around for a while and been over the counter for a while and are quite helpful. What's moved over the counter more recently are the steroid nose sprays, and those can be very effective, especially for people with nasal congestion and postnasal drip. I find those are more effective than the over-the-counter antihistamines, and if used appropriately, those can be very useful in controlling your allergies and can be obtained without a prescription.
Which is the good part. It can be obtained without a prescription. But when should I start taking it? Should I start taking it when I know that it's, everything's going to be blooming, or is it too late that I'm taking it when I'm already having a reaction?
Great question. So we see something in allergy called the priming effect. So as the season goes on, less allergen will trigger an allergic reaction. You become more sensitive to that allergen as the season goes on because your nose becomes inflamed. So as an allergist, we can do testing to determine exactly which pollen you're allergic to or which mold you're allergic to. And then what we like to do is time it before the season starts and treat through the season to prevent the allergies from starting ahead of time, to prevent that priming effect. If you start after your allergies start, it's harder to catch up with your allergies. The horse can be out of the barn at that point. You want to start before your symptoms start.
Okay, very interesting, Dr. Sabin, though, because here's the thing I've noticed. Is there really an allergy season? Because it seems like it lasts year-round now.
So it depends on your allergies, and there's seasonal allergies and there's perennial allergies. So if you're allergic to your dog, or you're allergic to your cat, or you're allergic to dust mites, you're going to have seasons year-round. The seasonal pollens are called seasonal pollens because they are, and it's pretty stereotypic when that pollen comes out. Tree pollen tends to come out in the spring, grass pollen tends to come out late spring, early summer, ragweed and other weeds tend to come out in the fall. The molds are sort of spring to the first fall, or spring to the first frost. So yes, you can have allergies year-round, but the seasonal pollens are pretty stereotypic depending on what you're allergic to, which pollen you're allergic to.
Okay, and really the best way to determine that is
allergy skin testing or blood testing, and we do that in the office all the time, and it can help determine what your allergies are.
And describe to people who might be a little nervous about it what that involves.
No, I'm glad you asked that. And my son, who's 8, gave me permission to say this. He has allergies, as do I, and he's been allergy skin tested, and he wanted to tell everybody that it doesn't hurt. And many people come in saying that it does hurt, or worried, I shouldn't say saying, but worried that it does hurt. It really doesn't. It itches a lot if you get allergy skin testing. It takes 15 seconds to put on. It's not needles. It's on your arm with a plastic device. It doesn't break the skin. There's no bleeding. Those hives do kind of come up at the testing site, so we know what you're allergic to, but those go away within half an hour to an hour. So if anybody complains of anything, it is a bit itchy, but it really doesn't hurt at all to get the testing.
Okay, and finally, how do you know, well, when do you know that it's time to go from the over-the-counter to really go see you and get some real help?
So the people that we would put in the moderate to severe persistent category, having symptoms more than 4 days out of a week for 4 consecutive weeks, and especially if it's starting to interfere with quality of life. You think about itching, sneezing, coughing, you know, but if you're developing fatigue, lack of sleep because you can't breathe through your nose, headaches, inability to perform at work or at school because your allergies are so bad, that's really affecting your quality of life at that point. And at that point, come and see an allergist, because there's things we can do that are more advanced than just the over-the-counter stuff.
Step it up. Then what's your son's name?
Ben.
Ben, thank you so much for having your dad say that.
Mention Vivian. My daughter Vivian as well. She hasn't been allergy tested, but I don't want to. Yeah, yes.
Well, thanks for letting your dad come in this morning. Some great advice. Thank you
very
so
much.
much.
Yes.
We will definitely keep that in mind, because it is now, and it's going to be the worst allergy season ever.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Dr.
Thank you.